Bitcoin had gone to about $180. No, I'm sorry, gone to $500 from 50. So it had gone up 10x.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
And he said there are 3 rules to managing money. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't lose money. Rule number 3, don't forget the first 2 rules. And it's so critically important. And I think as we talk to particularly young people in this space, in the crypto space, I think they didn't get that lesson. So many people came in, they got levered, they got wrecked, and now they're like, I shouldn't rat out my brother, but my brother called me up a while back and he said, they stole my Bitcoin. I said, what are you talking about? He says, well, I was at Bitfinex. I'm like, well, stop right there. You levered up your Bitcoin. Okay. Price fell. You got a margin call and you couldn't make the margin call. So they repossessed the collateral. No one stole your Bitcoin. You did something stupid. And so that experience, I mean, one, it's valuable, right? One of the things about investing, you can't learn from other people's mistakes. You have to make the mistakes yourself. You have 100%. To feel the pain in your gut of staying too long, right? You make money and you don't take your profits, or something goes down and you want to show that you're right and the market's wrong. By the way, the market is never wrong. You're
That's
wrong.
True. 100%.
And, one of the things that I think is so hard in this business is, and it's partly media, it's partly culture, is people are so obsessed with being right. Mm-hmm. Well, in investing, if you have that attitude that you have to be right, you will get wrecked. Because here's the problem. The legends, right? My mentor, idol, just passed away last week. God rest his soul, Julian Robertson. I was fortunate to have as a mentor for 25 years.
Sorry about that.
One of the greatest investors of all time, right? And, he, like Soros, Steinhardt, all these legends, they're right 58% of the time. That means they're wrong 42% of the time.
That's a lot.
The average investor is only right 40% of the time. So I always say I aspire to be above 50 because then you have a shot. But if you're only right 40% of the time and you constantly are trying to prove that you're right against the odds, it's going to be a very painful experience. So one of the things about investing is there's a very famous investor, Paul Tudor Jones. So a very famous guy from Virginia. He's got a stadium named after his father down at University of Virginia. And there's a picture of him in his dorm room at UVA with a sign behind him that says, "Losers average losers." And what it talks about is that most of us, right, we invest in something. So we buy Bitcoin at 70K and it goes to 50 and we double down. And then it goes to 40 and we triple down. And then it goes, no, stop. Losers, average losers. People say, but the value, no. At 70,000, the price was way above fair value. Fair value was more like 28, 29K, back in November last year. It's up to about 31, 32K. We'll come back to why I believe that. But price does not equal value. One of my favorite lines from John Burbank, famous investor out in San Francisco, is price is a liar. It has nothing to do with the value of an asset. It's what you and I decide to exchange a small amount of a good or service for.
100%.
So anyway, you asked me about myself and I started talking about investing lessons. So I digressed, but that's how I kind of got to North Carolina. Is how I got into, one last story about kind of my life story. I said happy accidents. So I had a great career in the endowment world. Loved every minute of it. Then I started Morgan Creek in 2004, and I built that into a very nice fund of funds and asset management business. And in 2013, and this is I'll tell a bad story on myself. So I was handed Bitcoin on a silver platter, not in 2009, but in 2013,
still extremely
when the price
early.
was in the double digits. And my friend Dan Moorhead, legendary investor from Pantera, we had backed him 20 some odd years ago when he spun out of Julian Robertson's shop to start Pantera Macro Fund. And that was one of the things I did. Anyone that left Julian's shop, I would back them because he was the greatest identifier, trainer, and backer of talent our business has ever seen. And I just jumped on that. In fact, my first fund was called Tiger Select. We would back anyone who came out of Tiger.
Wow.
And long story short, Dan called me up in 2013 and said, hey, Mark, come to San Francisco. I'll buy you dinner. I'm like, great. Want to have dinner with my friend. Known him for 30 years. And he says, hey, I'm shutting down the fund. I'm giving you your money back. I'm like, Dan, why would you give back $1 billion, charging 2 and 20? He says, I'm going to spend the rest of my career in Bitcoin and blockchain. And in 2013, I was not running drugs on Silk Road. I was not a cryptography student. Here he is handing me on a silver platter. And I'm like, I don't know what Bitcoin is. And here's the true story. The Winklevoss twins and Mark Yusko were introduced to Bitcoin the same month, same year, May 2013. They're multi-billionaires and I'm not. Why? Because they were in Ibiza, maybe doing stuff with Charlie and the guys that I wasn't, and they got it because they are more forward thinking. I'm kind of an old guy. So I was like, no, I need to study this. I need to understand it. And I did invest with Dan's infrastructure fund, which has done great, killed it. It owns a piece of FTX. It's up like 17 times. That's good.
That's good, yeah.
But the Bitcoin fund's up 300 times. It's the best performing fund in the history of funds. And Dan now runs a huge, conglomerate with about 6 billion of AUM. But I didn't abandon. So I spent 9 months studying it because that's what I do. I study things. And first quarter 14, I wrote a letter to my clients saying, you know what? This is interesting. Bitcoin had gone to about 180 bucks. No, I'm sorry, it had gone to 500 bucks from 50. So it had gone up 10x.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I'm like, there's something here. And I got hate. I mean, hate from my clients. They're like, don't talk about this. You're an idiot. I will fire you. Go back and do your job. Oh. Wow, that is really violent. Okay. Yeah. Now, from March when I wrote it to September, it went from 500 to 185, right? Down almost, 70%. Like, maybe they were right. And then bang, 8 weeks later, it was $1,000. I'm like, nope, they are not right.
Yeah,
and
that's
this
so wild.
Is funny. So I have a unique family. So I have 2 older kids. I have a 33-year-old, 31-year-old, and then we have a caboose who's 11. And it's awesome, and we're way better parents the second time. But my son, back in 2015, was graduating from Notre Dame. And there's a famous movie that most people who listen to this are too young to remember. It's called The Graduate. And when the kid graduates, this guy says to him, one word, son, plastics. So back in the 60s and 70s, if you got into plastics, you made a bunch of money. Well, I said to my son, one word, blockchain. I said, go out to, he's wanted to live in San Francisco his whole life. So since he was 10 years old, he said, I want to live in San Francisco. I want to work in tech. And I said, all right, go talk to Dan, go work at Coinbase, one of our early investments.
Yes.
And he goes out. He's like, Dad, I don't know. Maybe this is going to be a big deal. I'm going to go to KPMG. It's safe. Gets me to San Francisco. I'm like, you're going to hate it, which he did. He quit after 9 months without a job, which is, I guess, a millennial thing, right? No, you quit with another job. You don't quit without another job.
That's not the way we do. That's not the way we do it.
I know. But God loved my son. He went to work for a tech company, then went to work for another tech company. Now he works for Snowflake, and he's crushing it. I'm really proud of him. But when Coinbase went public, he calls me up and says, all right, Dad, you were right. I should have gone to Coinbase. But you're not as smart as you think you are. I'm like, oh, do tell. I told you to work at Coinbase. He's like, yeah, but you didn't lever up the house and put it on Bitcoin. I'm like, you little shit. That is fact. And so finally, in 16, I got some clients to invest, put some money in myself. And in 17, said, you know what? I'm going to shift my business from the traditional world to digital. And so now I spend most of my time running Morgan Creek Digital, which is a subsidiary of Morgan Creek Capital. And I'm the old guy. So there's about 5 of us, right? There's Novogratz, there's Moorhead, there's Burbank, there's Yusko. It's interesting. We're all ex-macro guys. They're Dan Tapiero. And we all kind of came to the same conclusion that all the young guys and gals with black t-shirts are really pretty smart, and that this is the greatest wealth creation opportunity we'll see in our lifetime. And so now I spend all my time investing in the infrastructure of digital assets and the liquid protocols.